Hi everyone, welcome to Cheltenham Chat episode 18. In today's video we'll talk about the Cheltenham hopefuls from last week. We're definitely going to talk about a horse who I've looked at very seriously as bet 2, and hopefully I can come across as why I haven't put it up as bet 2, but why I really fancy the horse and why I've backed it myself. Now, me backing a horse does not mean that people watching the video should be backing the horse. It's your money and you should only back a horse if you really fancy it yourself. That's not me copying out, but it's me saying that like these videos were made for 50 golf caddies who didn't really watch a lot of racing and has exploded into 1,800 views a week, which sort of, I don't know who these people are that are watching. I know a lot of local people watch though, and I think betting should always be not fun because I want to beat the bookmaker, but it should be about trying to beat the bookmaker. And it was something happened this morning when I was at the shops and I met one of my viewers and he was telling me about this £5 accumulator that he put on yesterday on 9 horses, and he had 8 winners and the 9th one lost, and he said he'd cashed the bet out before Bob and Co lost. Now that's what betting's about to me. Trying to beat the bookmaker, getting one over them, cashing out when a horse loses is brilliant. It feels like a winner, and that really is what it's all about. These were always made for a lot of local guys who know me and know that I've done okay in the past, and the videos prove that I've done okay, but I don't want people steaming into horses just because they've been put on my videos. So I'll firstly go through all the horses from last week, and then we'll get on to the horse who I've looked at very seriously as bet 2 and may still be a bet in the coming weeks, but part of the niggles of why I haven't put it off, as well as why I would like to put it off as well. So I'll get on to last week firstly. During the week, Chartreuse won at Clonmel. He'll go for the Albert Bartlett. His task was made a lot easier by the fatal injury to Mr. Fred Rogers during the race, and I'm finding it very difficult to evaluate the form with regard to winning an Albert Bartlett because this wasn't a great race without Mr. Fred Rogers, and it's hard to know if he'd even have won. Does he know won at Ascot? This was a win that pushes Does He Know out of the Ultima as far as I'm concerned. I can't see this horse winning now in the Ultima. He's won a grade 2. He's going to go up a lot in the weights for this win. And his only realistic target at the Cheltenham Festival now by the entries would look to be the National Hunt Chase. Whether he'd be up to beating the Irish would be very debatable. He'd be 14 to 1 shot at the bookmakers. And I wouldn't say that overestimates his chance at all. I think he is a rightful 14 to 1 shot. Fiddler on the Roof ran really well under top weight. He'd be a wild outsider for the Gold Cup, but nothing more than that. A horse I was really impressed with was Good Risk at All in the handicap. Now he was running off 127, and if the British handicapper was kind, I don't think he will be, but if he was, and this horse only went up to around 134, he may be a bet in the Martin Pipe, but he wouldn't want to be getting £10 for this win because there's going to be a few Irish horses coming in here that may be grade 1 horses. And although Good Risk at All looks a really, really nice horse, I wouldn't want to see him getting £10 plus for this win. But if he got something like 7, he may be a horse who could challenge in the Martin Pipe. Fakir Dudiri won. He looked a tired horse to me. It was a nice win. There's a few of these horses that probably have done their Ryanair claims no good at all by running in this race. I think it's a poor trial for a Ryanair now. It's too close to the Ryanair, and I'd be very wary about horses like St Calvados, Mr Fisher, Drashel Drasher, and Lost in Translation in this race. They've, run on extreme ground here, and although they may come back for being pulled up, I find it hard to go for a horse in this race. I remember 2 years ago when we backed Riders on the Storm for the Ryanair, and I was really keen on him, and then he ran in this race, and it was There was a war of attrition, and I knew his chance was gone for Cheltenham after that race. And I think it's pretty similar for Fakir Dudiri, and I think he'd probably be best to go to Aintree now. As for the ones in behind, I think they've possibly lost their Cheltenham chance, although it wasn't great anyway against Allaho. I don't think they'll now win at Cheltenham either. At Haydock, Porticello won an absolute nothing race really in facile fashion. It was another step on the road for him. He will go to the Triumph Hurdle where he'll have a far greater task ahead of him than this was. Hillcrest won in a pretty similar fashion, but I liked this win, and I think with doubts about a lot of horses in the Albert Bartlett, I think Hillcrest could be maybe slightly overpriced in that race at 7-1 best price. I would have put him in about 5-1 really. I know that Journey With Me, Ginto, etc. could go up in distance and they would be formidable rivals, but at the moment there's not many horses committed themselves to the Albert Bartlett, and Hillcrest was extremely impressive yesterday. He's a big horse. He's won on real extreme ground here and was going away at the finish. This was a nice effort. He's looked a nice horse all season. He was really unlucky last time when he was brought down, and I think he's a good chance in the Albert Bartlett. He certainly looks the best British hope, and I think he's a little bit overpriced as well. Adagio and Gowran fought a great finish at Wincanton. I think, in all truth, Adagio, probably top Schoontower, was between a rock and a hard place whether to go for it, really go for Adagio in this race, or did he think about the Champion Hurdle in 4 weeks' time. It was a difficult call. Goshen's a good horse, going right-handed on extreme ground, and Adagio was just found out a little bit. It was a great prep for the race, but I think maybe Adagio could have won this if this was his big target. I think Scudamore looked after him a little bit. At Gowran Park, Tehupu won. Now this horse has been taken into 8-1 for the Champion Hurdle. I can't believe that. People cannot think that Calixlos ran its race in this. He's been beaten far too far for this to be the correct form for Calixlos. This is another horse of Henry de Bromhead's. Now, he's had some winners this week, but he's also had some blowouts, and this was another blowout. Calixlos didn't run its race, and the 8-1 for Tehupu for the Champion Hurdle is absurd on his form, really. I mean, he's a 14-16-1 shot for the Champion Hurdle, but he's certainly not an 8-1 shot in my book. He may well go on to win it, and I'll look silly for this video, but I can't have him at 8-1. That's craziness. Mellon won. Now, as soon as Cheltenham Street Lord came out of this race, this was going to be a virtual gimme, and he's won really easily. But you can't take the form of this and hold it up. Really, it's real Grade 2 form, and with the festival in mind, I don't think it's going to hold up going to the festival. So that was last week. I think the big eye catcher was undoubtedly, for me, Hillcrest. A good risk at all, with a handicap in mind. If he hasn't blown his mark, could be a good horse going forward as well, but he could get crucified by the handicapper, and we'll have to wait until Tuesday to find out about him. I was leaving the local team's football yesterday, and I got accosted by one of the viewers saying, "When are we getting some bets? What's going on? Why are we not getting any bets?" And I said, well, I'm looking at a couple, but I said, we've had a good bet, 14-1 into 7-2, so, you've got a good bet on that. And I knew he had a 365 account as well, so I said, well, you'll have a good cash out on that. And he goes, oh, I never backed that. It was far too far away from the race. And I was laughing to myself, actually thinking, well, I gave you a horse. It's a good bet. I mean, there's no guarantee it'll win. And you've not backed it, and you're hassling me for more bets. So I'm going to tell you about one horse that I've so much thought about. And really, I've backed it. I've put the bets off. So I can put the horse up anytime I want to put it up, because I've backed it. And I really fancy Vanillier in the National Hunt Chase. But I haven't put it up for a few reasons. I do worry that one of these favourites could turn him over. I mean, I know every horse is a gamble, but I just wish I was slightly more confident than I am. I just think he's a great each way bet, but I'm not absolutely convinced he can win. I've backed him at 14-1 anti-post. There is still 10-1 non-winner no bet available. And I'm not telling people to go in. I just think that Gavin Cromwell's got great form at the Cheltenham Festival. He's had 3 winners out of 13 runners and a 3rd place as well. And for a provincial trainer from Ireland, that's really good starts. He's had a couple of good runners in the Boodles who finished 7th, which doesn't sound great, but there's usually 24 runners. And they've both run nice races as well. Vanillier is running grade 1s and grade 2s all season. He ran poorly over Christmas, and I think people will beat him with a stick with that. But he did that last season, and Cromwell was out of form last season at this time, and he's had no winners for quite a while. But you look at that festival record, he knows how to get a horse ready for the festival. Another reason that I was put off putting the bet up was I can't work out who's going to ride this horse, and you really need a good jockey because it's an amateur riders race. So when I say I fancy the horse and I've backed it, I don't want people going steaming into it just because I've mentioned it on the video, because still I don't know who's going to ride the horse. I definitely only do it non-runner no bet. And this race at Navan was off today as well, and I really hoped that the favourite Runwell Fred would run today and have a hard race. And I hoped they'd all have a hard race, and that would dwindle the rivals away a little bit. But I keep saying, and people keep saying, why do you keep mentioning it? I said, well, I don't want people running in to back a horse that I put on a video, because this was set up for 50 guys to watch, and now 1,800 people are watching. I don't want people running to their bookmaker sites to back Vanillier because I've mentioned it, because I still carry golf bags, and I don't get information like some of the other videos gets, and I don't go on stable tours, etc. So you've got to really believe in the horse yourself. You can't just be going backing horses because I say so. And at the moment I am very on the fence with Vanillier. I've backed it, but should I tell other people to back it or not? I'm not really sure. I'm convinced that it'll be its best run of the season come Cheltenham, but whether that'll be quite good enough to win or if he'll be 2nd or 3rd is bothering me, so I haven't put the bet up at the moment. But it's not that I am not looking for bets. I really fancy a couple of horses, but there's always been a niggle in my mind. There was never a niggle in my mind. I always thought Tell Me Something Girl could win. That's why she was put up. I mean, the stable are badly out of form at the moment, but I still have behind me last season's Mayor's Novice Hurdle win. I know that the trainer and the jockey are absolutely top class. I know that the owner wants to go to that race. So everything was in place to put that. Plus, she was way over the odds she should be, and maybe she's slightly under the odds she should be now, but at least we've got the value. And that's always what I'm looking for. I don't mind having doubts in my mind, and if someone said to me I can have 20-1 Vanillier, the bet would be going up, and I'll be making a video now. But he's 10-1. He's on the cusp of value. He was decent value when he was 14s non-runner no bet. Now he's 10s. He's not quite as good a bet. And with these horses not running today, they've now had a fair break, whereas if they'd run in that race and had to run again in 3 weeks' time, I would have been more confident. So that's the sort of things I'm looking at the moment. We've got an interesting race with regards to our bet taking place on Wednesday. Our horse isn't in it, but Burning Victory and Queensbrook are declared at the moment. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. It had the winner last season in Black Tears, but I'm not a fan of having a race too quickly before the festival. So I'm quite pleased that Tell Me Something Girl isn't in this. So at the moment, still just the one bet, and I know from leaving the local game yesterday that people want more bets, but just give it time. We will have more bets, and hopefully there'll be good value bets and hopefully winners as well, because I am acutely aware of last season's rubbishy bets that put me in so much trouble. Possibly I chased when I backed my Mount Ida, and it got me out of trouble, but it's not something I want to be doing this season if I can avoid it. So anyway, I've maybe rambled on a wee bit too long. Thanks for watching today. Hope you have a good week, and I'll be back to you next week, or perhaps in the midweek with another bet. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.